Hi, it's Linda with CreativePLR.com. So today we're looking at some products that we can get ready for back to school. And some of these products we can sell all during the year. It's just that we have bigger sales during the months of August and September and October. Those are our prime months. Also, February is a good sales month for back to school products as well. But teachers tend to buy things all during the year. And flashcards are especially good, and that's what these are going to be. They're going to be flashcards. Now, typically the flashcards are like a mini piece of paper, so they're a portrait style as opposed to a task card that is a landscape style. You can do them any way you want, but that's typically what they look like. And so I've set up a page here. This is 8.5 by 11, and I put 4 on a page. I notice there are people that sell them and they put 9 on a page. If you're going to use these for smaller hands, you need a little bit larger size. So keep in mind your audience and your purpose. If I was putting some calculus on here, I wouldn't need a card quite that big. I could get by with probably 6 on a page and it would be fine. So the test card has just a front with a problem on it. Flashcards, like these are, have a front and a back. Now, the only thing, if you're going to make, and you have to, there's a question on the front, and then you have a back to it, so you're going to have to put the answer on the back. And the only trick with this is you have to decide how you're going to tell the customer to print it. Because if they have a printer that prints 2 sides, then they'll want to be able to print it so that the correct answer is on the back, if that makes sense. And if you, when you get done, you can experiment with this and print it on your computer to actually see how that works. Now, the other way of doing it is to just print out the individual pages, which some teachers will do because they don't have at school, they don't have 2-sided printers. And, but you still need to make sure that when this back is reversed to this front, for instance, 7 plus 1, the answer would be on right over here, because when this is turned over on the back, it's going to be behind this page. So you just need to do that. That's the other reason I don't put more on a page, because it gets really confusing for me. Okay, so just remember that this problem needs the answer to go there, and whatever you're doing here, it needs to go the answer there. It's the same thing on the bottom. So when the pages are flipped over, and I always flip on, I think, the long side, but you can experiment. People do it both ways. So with flashcards, and let's look at, this is my basic setup here, and I've used the guidelines. The guidelines, if you go to view, and you'll see the guides are clicked, and they start you off with 1, and what I did was I clicked on it and I said add horizontal line, and then you can just move it anywhere you want. Okay, same thing with the vertical line. So I have my outside margins because I don't want to put a lot of pretty decorative things on there, and then when it's printed, depending on the printer and the person that's printing it, if it's printed and then it cuts off something. So I gave a little margin there. And then I also blocked off the center so that I give myself a grid. And if you want to put more cards on a page, then you just add more lines, and then you figure out, like, okay, so this is going to be 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. That would probably fit, and you can do it that way. And then I added a shape by inserting a shape, and this is one of those times you've probably heard me vent about the silly outline. This is one of the times I actually like the outline, and the reason why is my background page is white, my shape is white, and if I copy my shape to the next spot, I'm not going to be able to tell where it is if I don't have that outline. So I've already copied it here, and what I do is I actually move it, the shape, and align it to the outside edges, the corner here, and that leaves a little gap here. That makes it easier for teachers to cut out the flashcards, or the homeschool mom to cut them out. Now, you can make this, I usually just put the answer here and I don't put any design. It's up to you. However, depending on the printer and the person who's printing it, even if you're very careful, and what I did was I made one page and I copied it so the dimensions are exactly the same. However, printing distorts things a little bit, and if I wanted this to be colored paper, you know, with my answer on there. I made it really fancy, and then it's off even a quarter of an inch. What's going to happen is when they're printed back to back, they're not going to line up correctly, and it's going to be really frustrating. So I tend to only put the answer here on the back and not some other design. I keep my designs for the front. And in this case, what I did was I took this little frame and you insert a shape, and it's this little frame right here that looks like, you know, a picture frame. And then I did it right there on top of my shape. And you notice it's big, and then you just use this yellow dot and you just make it bigger or smaller, however whatever makes you happy. And then you can either color that. It's a shape, so you can color it. You can color it any color that you want. I tend to use, for kids things, I tend to use more bright colors. They're more fun. They're better sellers. This is, if you're doing for elementary, you don't want to do the boho chic colors that are all muted. I'm not saying it wouldn't work as well. I'm just saying bright colors for elementary work really well. Middle school, they like bright colors as well, but different range. And for high school, you can get a little crazier and do all different colors. They love it. Okay, so typically flashcards there's one problem on there, and if you want to put a paper in here, you can. It's a shape, so you can put anything that you want in there. Let's put a paper there so we can just see. I forgot what color I used on that. Okay, I'll do that one. And you can use that, and we know that needs to be tiled. And if I go over to design and format background, and then actually click on it, I should be able to tile the paper, and you'll see that it's there. Now, it doesn't show up quite as well. I've picked a nice bold font there to do that, and it doesn't show up as well as I would like it. And you can bump up the font depending on what you're doing as big as possible. And now 7+1, so you would decide this set of flashcards is going to be addition. And depending on the grade level, and you can Google that, and it will tell you, usually in the very, very young ages, they will do up to 10. So you would have 1 + 7 is 8, 1 + 6 is 7, and so forth. And you might mix them up. And then you could do another set of task cards, you know, which is multiplication. 1 × 2 is 2, and so forth. Division's a separate one, subtraction's a separate one. So, you know, all of those skills are learned in elementary. And so you could actually do, that's 4 sets, and then you would have a bundle ready and you could sell all 4 sets. Or you could decide to do counting. And so you could do either a color, so you could say, this is, what color is the dog? Okay, and you could type that in, or you might say, you know, what is this? And then the students would say on the back, it's a dog. Or you could say, what color is a dog? It's a green dog. Or you could, and you're probably thinking, where'd you get that dog? And I'm going to show you in a minute where I got the dog, and you can get anything else. And then if you want to be counting, then you could have a whole bunch of dogs. And keep in mind that we're still talking about, you know, the appropriate age level. So you're not going to put 105 dogs on there. I don't know that you do that anyway. You might put 5 dogs on there. 5's my favorite number. I always like 5. Okay, so, and then on the back the answer would be 5, or it could be 5 green dogs. You could change the color of one of them. Oh, let's just do that. You could say, how many green dogs? Okay, there's 4 green dogs. How many red dogs? 1 red dog. You could put different colors on there. You could use these for sight words. Okay, you could put a cat on there and ask them to spell it. And so here's how you get all of these great things. You don't need clip art, although clip art's nice. And so you go over to your icons, and so this one's going to be about a cat. And so you type in cat, and eventually it'll come up, and I like that one. And these are all graphics. They're not shapes, they're graphics. So you can go up here and you can make them any color you want. And you can make them all different colors. You could do the same thing that you do for the dogs. You could put different color cats on there, ask them how many yellow cats, how many blue cats, and so forth. So these are flashcards, and the answers have to be on the back. And so you can see already that you could do a set of addition, multiplication, division, subtraction. You could do a whole sets of colors. You could do animals. You could do fish, cats, dogs, snakes, birds, mice. You could do all kinds of shapes. You could do sight words, basic words like hat, hand, eye, ear, parts of the body. You could do all of those. Those would work great as flashcards. And then you have to have the answers on the back. That's the only trick. And that's pretty easy to do. You just copy this text box, and I know instead of there, it's going to go there. And I'm going to say 8. Okay. And so for whatever you're asking here, you're going to turn it over. Now, these little cards that I've called task cards, they actually are really good for something else. Okay. So you could do some motivational sayings for kids. You could save these, you could make like individual stickers. You could let's put one here so we can see what this is. And I'll have to bump the font down a little bit. And so I want to, maybe I'll keep the font. It's a nice chunky font. And then I'm going to say Math Whiz. Okay, so now I can go back up so I can see. And you can choose any kind of font. It's kind of fun to have font. Okay. And in this case, you'd want a little icon with that. So insert an icon. And I don't know what icons they have for math. And so I'll just type in math. And let me see. I don't know if I like, oh, this one works pretty good. And the calculator works good too. I'm going to put both of them in there. And let's make them colored. That's my red box. So let's make them red, but it doesn't have to be red. I can make it blue. And then I can also make my font a different color too. So, and then you could put a background and more clip art on there. And what the teacher does is they give some of these sayings out, and they call them brag tags, but they're a little fancier than what I've done here. And you could make them as fancy as you like. If you add paper behind there, let's see, that was my red. So I'll stick with the red and I'll tile it. And then I'm going to have to add some white behind here. And then I'm going to bump the transparency. So that's one way of doing it. And you could make these, they call them brag tags. You could just put motivational sayings on there. Great job. Don't give up. Be persistent. That kind of thing. And then, give them out to kids, when they show that in the classroom. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Flashcards. And I get busy with your flashcards, and bundling is the key. When you do anything like this, if you make a set, think of other sets that would complement those and bundle them together.